There's blood everywhere because of a fucking toaster. The molten plastic of the camera killed the man. And he's like, I gotta get these fucking books. It's the dark half. I just can't excuse it. So, after reading this absolute honker of a book, I have quite a few thoughts and opinions about the 4 novellas within 4 Past Midnight. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first story, the best one, was in fact the Langoliers. The main genre of horror in the Langoliers is Lovecraftian horror, in my opinion. The fact that as a reader and as the characters themselves are not really sure what they're dealing with and are trying to face these monsters beyond our comprehension, to me, it clearly speaks Lovecraftian horror. I mean, imagine going into an airplane and you end up getting sucked into some different dimension, and then you're wondering if you are like the only humans left alive in the world because like 80% of the people on the plane just suddenly disappear and all you have left of them are their jewelry, their personal belongings. But yeah, overall, like as I was reading this story while they were on the airplane, I was like, okay, like what's going on? And once the novelist Bob starts giving his thoughts about it, the story progresses, it unfolds, and I just really enjoyed the whole mystery part of where are they? And once they landed in Bangor, Maine, and they got off the plane, that's when we started understanding the full extent of what they were going through, right? An alternate dimension, and everything is just off. The sounds are off, the smells, the tastes are completely bland and stale. And this world, I just imagine it being very gray, very mute. And they hear this buzzing sound like static. 10 on 10 atmosphere for this novella. Just amazing. Like I imagined like the colors from their clothing starting to mute out, become gray, become black, become white. It's like that was so good. We gotta talk about the whole Dina situation, all right? Here you have some blind girl who was supposed to fly to Boston to get eye surgery so she can see. But she also seems to have psychic powers in the fact that she constantly told Nick and other people, don't kill him, don't hurt him, he's important. Craig Toomey losing his shit while they're in Bangor. He's getting mad because he's got to be in Boston for an important meeting. And the guy is so livid, he doesn't even realize what's happening. But he's in the airport, there's no color, just like, it's empty. Then he fucking stabs her with a knife and she's got a fucking knife hanging out of her chest. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck's going on? He just stabbed a minor. And he runs into the freaking airport services room and he's just hiding, ripping paper like he's some lunatic. And these guys are all worried about Dina because she's like, don't kill him, Nick. He's important. The whole time I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This guy is a lunatic. We'll get there. And my favorite part is when, after Dina gets stabbed, she's got a knife hanging out of her chest. Albert and that other guy, they go after him, they bump into him, and fucking Craig knifes the fucking guy, he's dead, and then we have an absolute battle. Craig Toomey versus the fastest Hebrew of the West, Ace, Albert. And you know how fucking Albert beats the shit out of Craig? A fucking toaster, bro. A fucking toaster. He's beating him up with this makeshift fucking mace toaster, bashing his head in. This dude's losing fucking chiclets. He's losing fucking teeth. There's blood everywhere because of a fucking toaster. And the only thing going in my head is, was it a 2-slice or a 4-slice toaster? That's the only thing going on. Like, fuck, I'm bringing out props here. There's fucking crumbs falling on the goddamn floor. Meanwhile, Craig Toomey getting his ass fucking handed to him by a fucking toaster and a 19-year-old violinist. Okay, so that's where we're at. They're refueling the plane. They hear the fucking sound of crunching, getting closer. Dina is literally dying and she's still saying, don't kill him, he's important. And then everybody's getting to the plane. Craig, somehow not dead despite being beaten up by a fucking Black & Decker toaster. And he has this revelation where he sees Dina and he sees her as like this goddess, this saint floating in the air. And this is where I found it a little bit cheesy. You can convince me that they got to a different dimension and there's nobody else in this world except them and everything is great. You can convince me there's another dimension. But the second you tell me that a blind girl with a knife sticking out of her chest has some psychedelic opportunity to talk to this fucking Craig dude and convince him to get to the plane, you're losing a little bit of marks on the story. It's not believable. That's my opinion, okay? And you have Craig being like, okay, fucking running to the plane. And that's when we see what the Langoliers look like. These fucking red and black orbs with teeth looking like fucking Chain Chomp from Super Mario Brothers, just eating away the world. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of scary. They got to get the fuck out of here. And then you realize why Dina was like, you gotta keep Craig alive. He's bait. He's gonna die. Did he redeem himself? No. I don't believe that Dina is a good person. Dina literally saw that man and she's like, you're gonna be flesh for these Chain Chomp ball looking things. And this guy just starts getting deleted, erased, eaten up, and they're flying out, they're getting the fuck out of there. And Craig Toomey, no more. Now, how the fuck are they supposed to get back to their dimension, the actual planet? Well, they gotta go through the original time warp location. And once they reach that location, there was a real close moment where they're flying through. I'm like, all right, they're gonna get in. And then the novelist Bob is like, but we were asleep. And I completely forgot about that. And I was like, shit, that's really good. I didn't clue into it. So I was like, that's a good plot point. And Nick ends up sacrificing himself by putting them all asleep by reducing the cabin pressure. They get back to their dimension and they land the plane. It kind of crashes and shit. They get out and they get into the airport terminal and they hear a different sound. They hear like a humming, almost like angels or something. And it's them essentially in the future, in a stagnant point in time, waiting for the present to catch up to them. And I was like, that's cool. I like that time travel stuff. And overall, I thought the story was a solid story. It was an 8 on 10, in my opinion. There were some things I didn't like about it, but overall, I thought the story was great, and the overall delivery was believable and a really fun read. And then we get to the second story, Secret Window, Secret Garden. My overall impressions of Secret Window, Secret Garden is that it's not a good story. It's literally a rehashed version of The Dark Half. Stephen King has so many stories, and this one was so freaking similar. I can't get over the fact that 4 Past Midnight was published right after The Dark Half. It's almost as if Stephen King took ideas and concepts that he didn't use in The Dark Half and plugged it into this new novella, and I just can't get over it. Like, there were elements that I liked about it for the fact that, the main character actually was schizophrenic. He was actually the one committing murders and crimes themselves, and he was John Shooter. But dude, I kind of wish that fucking Tad Beaumont in Dark Half was schizophrenic. It's almost as if they took this and fused it with fucking Dark Half. The Dark Half would have been an even better book, and I thought it was a decent story. Just couldn't I couldn't get past it, man. I just couldn't get past it. The story was fine, but it's just like, it's The Dark Half. And like, for me, not a chance. Not a chance. Okay, and the score I'm giving Secret Window, Secret Garden a 1 star. I have to give it a 2 on 10. It's the dark half. I just can't excuse it. I would maybe think it's a 2-star read because there's redeeming qualities to it that people would like. But the problem is that it's so similar to the dark half that it should have never been written, in my opinion. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Imagine if I read this first and then I read dark half and I'm like, wait, hold up, what's going on? Like, you know, that's my biggest gripe. I don't even want to talk about the whole plot and shit because there's no point. It's literally the dark half. Fuck, man, there's still crumbs everywhere on the floor. Then we get to the third story, Library Policeman. Essentially, this guy, he's got to do a speech in front of his Rotary Club, and he doesn't really know how to do public speaking, so he borrows a couple books in the library and does the speech. Everybody's moved, everybody loves the guy, and then he completely forgets to return his books. The books get destroyed, and then he gets haunted by the living husk of the body of Ardelia Lords. The premise of the book, interesting. The execution, kind of weird, okay? Kind of weird. You know, I liked the idea of the guy walking into the library and he kind of walks into a different world where the whole library is different and everything in the library is like kind of evil, where the posters are evil, the signs are very stern and strict compared to, you know, libraries today, which are a lot more inviting and welcoming. And then we see the main character, Sam, starts to get stalked by the actual library policeman. And it's like this ghoulish vampire that Sam somehow recognizes, and the guy's got a lisp and he's threatening to kill him. If you really wanted to make this guy scary, why the fuck does it have why does he have a lisp? Oh my god, dude, just why? Why does he have a lisp? Yeah, anyway, this guy is fucking shook to the core and he's like, I gotta get these fucking books. And he's talking to the drunk, Dirty Dave, Dirty Dan, whatever his name is. And he's like, I gotta get these books, bro. He's like, don't worry, some guy owes me. He's gonna fly you out to another city. You're gonna buy these books. You're gonna fucking live. But by the way, let me tell you about my sexcapades with fucking Ardelia Lords. Crazy shit throughout the story. Because again, I'm not going through every fucking part of this plot. This fucking video is gonna be an hour long. Then we get to the fucking scene, fucking library policeman, some deranged individual who's preying on children. Fuck, I didn't need to know about this. And here I am, I'm reading this book, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's an okay story. And then we get to it, why he's so fucking scared to go in a goddamn library. And it's like Stephen King could have picked fucking anything else to have a phobia about, but no, it's this scene, this disgusting scene. Fuck, I don't need to know about this, so we're going past it. And then we get to the final fucking boss fight. They get into the library and we realize that the library policeman is just a like evilness incarnate, but like it's not a physical body, not necessarily. And Ardelia Lords has actually just been like stayed alive because the thing that's like taken over her is actually like an alien monster that like sucks the life force out of you. And yeah, they fucking kill it. All right, they fucking kill it. I'm done with this fucking story. It's not for me, dude. I know a lot of people probably are like, yeah, it's good, bro, it's good. But bro, it's not for me, dude. It's another 4 on 10 story. Like I got lost throughout the book, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, just know it. Honestly, it was a frustrating read. It was just a frustrating read. 4 on 10. Some people, it's a 2 stars. Some people gonna like it. That's why I can't give it a 1. It's not objectively bad of a story, but like it's pretty close. Then we get to the final story, The Sundog. This one has a few more redeeming qualities to it. It's actually an important story to Castle Rock. The Castle Rock vibe was there because it actually was taking place in Castle Rock fucking once. What's it about? Essentially, this kid called Kevin gets this camera, takes a photo, and the photo that prints out of the camera essentially is not what he took a photo of. It's of this dog that, like, if you take more photos, slowly changes its angle, and then eventually it looks at you. And Kevin, scarred by it. He's like, well, this thing looks scary. So they go visit a guy called Pop Merrill, who owns essentially a flea market combined into a store. He's got odds and ends, and they go ask him, hey, bud, can you fix my camera? Pop Merrill instantly is interested in this whole camera because he recognizes what's kind of going on in this thing, and he sells these haunted items, these things that are able to interest rich people with money to buy objects of another dimension, an evil dimension. He devises this plan to buy another version of this camera, break it, and make it as though Kevin's camera is actually broken so he can keep the original. You can see that every photo you take, the dog's changing direction, starting to turn, look at the cameraman, and pounce straight at the cameraman. Very interesting concept, a bit slow, I'm not gonna lie. Now we get into Pop Merrill's interesting side quest where he tries to sell it, and he didn't. So he goes back home defeated, and that's when he gets into like this trance, like a flash in his head just like takes him over, and he becomes a zombie, and he's just walking away, he's just walking like a zombie, and he doesn't even think that he has the camera. And he ends up going to a supermarket to buy more film, and when he gets back, he's just clicking the fucking camera, and essentially he's like inviting this dog to jump out of the camera. Kevin is like convinced that this camera, he's still being haunted in the dreams by this dog and the camera. And he's like, asks his dad, he's like, Dad, this fucking dog is alive, bro. This camera, we gotta go check it out, man. And they end up seeing Pop Merrill sitting on his fucking chair, taking photos, and eventually you can hear the growl of a dog. Again, this is a slow burn story, certainly a slow burn novella. The dog comes out of the camera essentially by melting the camera, and this is when we get the actual first bloody part of the book, where the plastic, is the molten plastic, explodes onto this guy's neck and face, and he's just dead. All right, it just burns him, blood everywhere. The molten plastic of the camera killed the man. Okay, insane. This guy is burning alive, and it is important to mention that Kevin, based on instinct, that the author, Stephen King, kept on saying, this guy doesn't go by rational logic. This guy goes based on instinct. They went to go buy another camera, and they're waiting right now. Kevin's just like, he's like a fucking sniper. All right, this guy is like, he goes hunting, and he's waiting for this dog to come out of one of the print papers of the photograph, and you get this like reddish black orb egg that's like expanding, and eventually it opens, and you see what is essentially a hellhound. Good touch. And you have Kevin, he just knows that if he takes a photo of this fucking dog with this new camera, why, I don't know, and If he takes a picture of it, he says, say cheese, or whatever the fuck he says, and like the dog essentially becomes stone like Medusa and fucking dies. How did he know that, dude? Again, it just based on instinct? Like, what made this camera fine? We'll never know. That, you know, I thought, I was like, all right, fine. The premise was interesting. It was slow. Again, the execution, kinda not the best. I'm just like, okay, fine. But oh wait, there's actually more. There's like an epilogue or whatever. You get, I think, the fucking cheesiest ending. You get the cheesiest ending of fucking life, bro. They give him a word processor, and essentially it fucking takes over itself and starts reading "The dog is loose again. It is not sleeping. It is not lazy. It's coming for you, Kevin." What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? This makes no sense. This ending makes no sense. It is the most frustrating ending out of any of the books I've read so far from Stephen King, any of the stories, because it doesn't make fucking sense. How does this dog do that? It doesn't. And I'm frustrated by it because I thought the story was fine. The epilogue was not necessary. You have this dog that comes back alive into a fucking computer. No. Again, Stephen King, you could convince me in the Langoliers that there's a whole other dimension out there, but you tell me that a fucking hellhound that you supposedly killed with a Polaroid camera comes back into a fucking Mac computer. It's supposed to tell me that makes sense? Not a chance. So what do I give this book? I give it a 5.5 out of 10. I don't think it's a 3-star read. It's not a 2-star. It's close. It's 2.5. What is the overall score? I did a weighted average based on page count for these 4 novellas, and the overall score is 5.25 out of 10. This book is the definition of mid. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with what I've said or no? How do your scores vary across the novellas and overall? And as always, if you like the content, then give me a like. And if you really, really like the content, then please consider subscribing to this book review channel. So, Stephen King, forever.